ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Good morning, this is Grace.
And of course, you are with us in our morning show, our breakfast show. We have more coffee and more durians for you. Well, we have ASEAN news as well as local news and international news. But we are going to start our news commentary today with something that is closer to home in Malaysia.
Yes, Malaysia indeed cut its economic growth forecast for this year and also announced a slew of austerity measures for the oil price wars.
So there's a bit of restructuring that is happening right now with the Malaysian government amidst with the oil prices that forces Malaysians to be happy actually because we have lower oil prices, even though with that it comes with the government having to reduce the subsidy of the oil, fuel subsidy in essence. But in another way, the economic growth forecast this year that Najib has announced means that he's going to cut as much spending as possible. And one of the interesting spending that he's going to cut, in my own personal belief, is like really great that he did it, is to cut the budget for the national service. I know in Korea you have compulsory 2 years national service, but in Malaysia it's more like summer camp, at least to my
That's what I heard too.
That's what I heard from a lot of people. And why we need to give all those youngsters summer camp? They should find jobs and get real.
It is also perhaps to get ready for sudden attack from you don't know whoever can attack this nation.
I think most probably would be Singapore.
Well, in fact, despite the reducing the subsidy, there is also other areas that the government may increase the price of the other grocery products in Malaysia. But yes, definitely, with the budget 2015 was introduced last year in October, and then our Prime Minister has come up with the reducing cost for all those household and business is also a good news to our nation.
The oil prices that drop for a couple of months now, it has really impacted globally towards countries within the Middle East, Russia, Venezuela, and of course countries like Malaysia and Brunei. For example, because of the drop in oil prices, the revenue for Petronas, which is unfortunately the coffer for the whole of the country's expenditure budget, has reduced by 50%. So this is crazy. And as we all know, Petronas contributes about a third of Malaysia's government's revenue. So whatever that is happening in Petronas will affect Malaysia tremendously. Petronas is like the life support of this country, and it's crazy.
Of course, and the Petronas is getting larger and larger, and it try to invest in other foreign countries as well. But according to our Prime Minister Najib, he said, we are taking preemptive measures following changes in the external global economic landscape, which is beyond our control, and is also to ensure that our economy continues to attain the respectable and reasonable growth.
I would like to commend Datuk Najib, because I think Prime Minister Najib in a way has been great at slashing its operating expenditure initially at 223.4 billion ringgit. Now has been slashed he has slashed 5.5 billion ringgit off that number. And because of that, I think it will definitely be a good start for the nation, because too much expenditure is being allocated to the government's program, and most of the program are not necessarily have a long-term benefit to the society. So it's great that the government is looking at it.
And also, before they actually execute the plan, it may be a wise choice to revise the budget plan again to be able to carry out the plans for the nation.
So just to go back again, just to let you guys know that last year in October, the government actually released the budget 2015. That budget was a bit pretty more ambitious than what people would have thought about, and majority of the focus on the budget is the burgeoning number of ringgit that is being allocated for the budget 2015. So it's great that the government is restructuring it to reduce the cost of the budget, to ensure that we don't spend too much on the Malaysian budget, but still have expect better outcomes. So in a way, the government have to be a bit more innovative in the way it's allocating its money.
It's good that you mentioned about the ringgit, because ringgit, the value has been dropping since 4 months already, and also of course the oil price is dropping, but at the same time it is something the government is taking into consideration to look at the dropping value of ringgit and also dropping the price of the oil.
Talking about dropping, so did you know that even though Malaysians always complain that they are not getting enough wages, but apparently our salary has increased so much that is the largest increase. We have the largest pay rise among all. The second largest pay rise in Asia. I'm not talking even Southeast Asia. I'm talking about Asia.
This is quite a surprising news, because when you consider Asia is really gigantic continent with China, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, Singapore, and a lot more other countries there, and then Malaysia being the second most generous in Asia is actually brings a surprise news.
I'm utterly surprised, because this is a scale that was being conducted by the Hayes Asia Salary Guide 2015, which was released by the global recruitment company Hayes, and it shows that Malaysia employers have jumped 43% in terms of salary increase, and this is more than any other country that is considered a big competitor in terms of job markets, namely Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and China, which mainly has less than 3%, I guess, jump compared to other countries, compared to Malaysia, sorry. And their guide also shows that hiring expectations remain steady across Asia despite the talent shortage. Employers in all 5 of their surveys countries are seeing a gap, some more significant than others, between skills that they are looking for and the skills available in the local labor market. Compared to 31% of Malaysia's employers increased salaries by 6 to 10% in the last review, only 8% of their counterparts in Singapore did so, while China topped the survey. Almost half of 48% of Malaysia's employers raised by China topped the survey of 5 ASEAN countries, with half of employers raising wages by 6 to 10%. So we are a bit behind China. So we are the second largest. We have the second largest pay rise.
This is very tricky, because even though Malaysia is second largest when it comes to payment, but Malaysia pay scale is pretty low considering compared to other countries, to be honest, and also living cost is actually higher than they are getting paid here. So I don't know how the statistics actually came out based on what researchers they've done, but it looks like they've done the researchers on the companies or foreign investor companies, not on the middle or low income companies.
Actually, you make sense, because a lot of people are questioning the research methods and also how they conduct the research. Although they mention they look at the wage trends over 1,200 roles across Malaysia, Singapore, China, Hong Kong, Japan, and focusing on a range of different people working in different sectors, but are they representing like all level of management, or is just one level of management? And in fact, this survey is a bit weird because according to the study, 64% of Malaysia's employers provide health benefits. They're still okay. Car allowance, well, not everyone. Life insurance, yeah, I think most Malaysian company would have it. And this is the weirdest one: club or gym membership. I hardly know anyone actually have a gym membership by a company.
If the company has the sponsored or the partnership with the gym company, then definitely they will get some kind of allowances from there to be able to set the bridge.
And the others are hardship allowance. I'm not sure what does that mean. Housing allowance, pension, tax equalization, and private expenses. All these are luxurious benefits that probably only the top 5% of the management or the top 5% of the company's population would enjoy it. I don't think a guy sweeping the floor working in a really good MNC would have that kind of benefit, right?
Yeah, and also at the same time, people here, we all know that Malaysia, the ringgit currency has been depreciated almost by 20%. So definitely all this pay rise can be cancelled by inflation because of the ringgit value.
You are right on that. So it doesn't make any difference. There's a lot of flaws in the research that I think a lot of people might not be really into it. We will continue again with our ASEAN Daily. We'll take a short break with one music that we'll be playing right now.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello, this is Arlene.
Welcome back, this is Grace.
And of course, you are with us at Durian ASEAN. We will bring you more news from Southeast Asia. So we spoke about Malaysia, too much about Malaysia, but we still need to talk about something related to Malaysia, but more located to Indonesia.
Yeah.
We're talking about the updates on the AirAsia flight that was crashed in the Java Sea. So a bit of an update. Apparently, according to the Indonesian minister, he's the transport minister, he said that AirAsia stalled after climbing beyond normal speed.
And also, it is proven that it was the bad weather that have caused the crash. And also, they're analyzing data from the black box.
It's a bit abnormal, you see, because never a time at all that AirAsia flight, got into such trouble that it landed into the sea, that eventually, just got stuck there on the seabed now.
And also, it was reported before that actually this QZA501, it was warned not to schedule to fly on the day because of the bad weather. But apparently the plane, went suddenly up at the speed above the normal limit. They was able to climb too, but then it was installed.
There's a lot of questions that are still unanswered. What I see is, unless there's a total analysis as well as investigation done on the black box, which is still undergoing right now, we can only predict what actually happened at that time, because I do believe the pilot is an experienced pilot. This is not the first time he ever fly AirAsia flight, and I believe that he know what he was doing. Probably the weather was a major culprit, most probably, but what is abnormal is this kind of trouble where plane just crash land into the seabed is really an an abnormality, because it's not something that we would hear in Southeast Asia.
Well, that's true, but then on the other hand, based on the research and also how investigators heard from the black box recorder, it was said that there was no sign of terrorism in the plane. It could be either be purely on the human error or the problems that it was caused by the weather itself.
And what is clear was it's not the cause of terrorism. Most probably is the weather. So that's good to hear, actually. And another news that we want to bring to you is about Hong Kong. So Hong Kong ASEAN Trade Pact will open doors to richer, deeper relations. And what is interesting is, in the wake of the Occupy protests, it's still ongoing until now. Hong Kong is in dire need of a means to reinvent itself, as it may be able to do so by leveraging its long-standing relationship with Southeast Asia, a relationship that has been overlooked of late. Well, that's true. Hong Kong needs to revive its Southeast Asia relationship, especially as we reported how Hong Kong is reviving the rounds of talks on the free trade agreement between Hong Kong and Southeast Asia. A lot of people might be a bit would raise an eyebrow. Why Hong Kong and Southeast Asia? Because Hong Kong is supposed to be part of China, isn't it? But apparently not so. The China-ASEAN FTA has nothing to do with Hong Kong, so Hong Kong has to have its own personal FTA with ASEAN unless it joins the RCEP. That would be a totally different story to go.
And by looking at the picture, we can definitely relate it to our durian ASEAN, because the global demand for Southeast Asia exports of durian and rice, and especially from China, has been growing. So the exports of durian is definitely on the demand. And also, on the other hand, the potential benefits that the free trade agreement between the Hong Kong and ASEAN will carry a lot of positive effects.
I told you.
And
People
also,
love durian,
yes,
not just Southeast Asian.
that's for sure. It is proven already. Yeah. And then the intention is for the Hong Kong and ASEAN to close the deal next year. So that's why they want to. Now it's time for ASEAN to have a Hong Kong as an individual region in the Southeast Asia.
That would be great. I think a lot of transfers that can be happening with Hong Kong, closing the geopolitical ties between Southeast Asia and itself. And what is interesting is I'm so looking forward with the transfer of knowledge, especially in terms of education, in terms of talents, in terms of ideas, and in terms of investment as well. Hong Kong has one of the most robust economies in in Asia. In essence, it's the center of East Asia, if I would say. So having Hong Kong looking at its southern region, which is Southeast Asia, would be the best bet for Southeast Asia to reinvent itself as well, not just Hong Kong, because even Southeast Asia is in need of something larger. And the next news is about Shanghai. Apparently, Shanghai has beaten Singapore as the world's busiest container port. That is unsurprising, because it's time for Singapore to humble itself.
Singapore to humble. And Shanghai is definitely boosting up its economic and also being one of the busiest container port. And it was also after the widening the gap and with the closest rival, Singapore, and Singapore handled around 33.9 million and also 20-foot containers last year.
And what's interesting is last year the gap was about 1 million boxes between Singapore and Shanghai, but now Shanghai's taken over Singapore Maritime and Port Authority. I'm actually happy for Shanghai. Maybe I have a bit of uneasiness with Singapore when it comes to competition, a bit of that kiasuness in.
It could be that also.
But what I admire is how Shanghai has retained its title as the world's busiest container port for a fifth consecutive year after widening the gap with its closest rival Singapore. And what it seems to be Shanghai, Shenzhen, and other ports in China are dominating the global container shipping market. So if you are in the shipping sector, you know where to go. It's not the US, not Europe, it's not Africa, it's China. Specifically in Shanghai, that's where all the goods and products and everything being stored and being shipped to another area.
And perhaps it also has a lot of potential because Shanghai and also other ports in China are dominating the global container shipping market, while the facility in Ningbo overtook South Korea's Busan last year as the world's 5th busiest harbor.
So what happened to you, South Korea?
South Korea, I don't think it doesn't seem to be catching up very well.
Maybe South Korea doesn't like to keep stuff. That's why it has reduces the containers.
It could be true also.
Well, global containers trade reached 124 million boxes in the first 11 months of 2014 and increased to 4.3%. This is according to the global container trade statistic. So apparently, the world's second largest container shipping company, Mediterranean Shipping Corporation, currently operating the biggest vessel that can carry 19,224 boxes between Asia and Europe. Last year, China Shipping Container Lines is a shipping company, a ship, launched a ship that could carry about 19,100 containers. How big a ship can be?
It could be actually very, very huge to contain all those products there. And then to be able to carry out, it has a lot of it comes with a lot of facilities and all the system that is required for the shipping companies.
So apparently it seems like, with shipping company or the shipping sector it seems to be the shipping sector is getting more and more robust, more and more interesting, to the extent that they are actually increasing the size of the ship. They are making ports even much more sophisticated so that it can contain all the millions of containers. But I think if you look at the bigger picture, it shows that globalization or global trade is definitely a reality. So the movement of goods and services is what the future of the world is all about. It's about people ordering sushi all the way from Japan. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Or people ordering some whatever trade and whatever services and products all the way from other countries. So that shows that the world is no longer clusters of villages. It's just one big city. Everyone is buying from somewhere else all over the world. I think a lot of your friends are doing online shopping as well.
Yeah, for sure. So they are shipping a lot of product from different countries, and also it goes through a lot of a procedure and also checkpoints, because the products sometimes it is restricted in certain countries. Yeah. So it comes with a lot of policies and regulations for sure.
And because Indonesia is catching up with this maritime and seaport and all that, so Jokowi, you have a lot of work to do so that you can beat Singapore, at least become number 2. So we'll take a second break. When we return, we will talk more about probably Indonesia will be part of this news.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Grace.
And of course, our news commentary for ASEAN Daily. Well, we have Indonesia and Singapore collaborating with each other to enhance palliative care in Jakarta. What the hell is palliative care?
Well, the Singapore International Foundation and it launched the training program to enhance the practice care in Jakarta. The partnership with Indonesia Cancer Foundation, Jakarta, and the Pediatric Palliative Care Service, and the Rachel House, which is also called RH.
So apparently, palliative care specialists from Singapore will partner with Indonesian medical professionals from 10 public hospitals in Jakarta. It looks like Indonesia is most probably enhancing its healthcare industry. It looks like Indonesia is really looking at trying to increase the commitment, especially the bilateral commitment between Singapore and Indonesia, working together to improve lives as a testament to the spirit of gotong royong, which is a very local Malay archipelago kind of kampung spirit between the friends between Singapore and Indonesia.
And also it was noted that all these non-communicable, life-threatening medical conditions are on the rise in Indonesia, and all those conditions are very serious, and it can actually cause a detrimental results. So with that, the relationship and this deal that has been made between Singapore and Indonesia will definitely boost up this medical industry in both nations.
So what they are doing is they are trying to create more capacity building activities and creating more platform for professionals to share best practices. And this is great because I think Singapore has one of the best health services in Southeast Asia. A lot of people actually go to Singapore. Those that can afford the healthcare bill would actually go to Singapore to seek for the best treatment. And I even have relatives that went there, and I can tell you the way the healthcare industry is being run in Singapore is definitely one of the world's best.
It's also very systematic and organized, and then the healthcare is also heavily sponsored and all funded by the government itself. So definitely it is something that we can give our credibility to. So it's good to hear that there will the relationship and also the agreement between Indonesia and Singapore is ongoing. It's actually good news to all of us.
So starting from next month, both teams, especially the Singapore International Volunteers, is a multidisciplinary team that comprising doctors and palliative care nurses. They will all make the trip to Jakarta and work together with the Indonesian practitioners and trying to do a lot of assessment, treatments, management of pain and system experienced by patients, as well as doing a lot of what I mentioned earlier, the create this platform where they can share the best practices and all that. So this is definitely a positive development in Southeast Asia, especially trying to make the idea of an ASEAN community coming true. I think having all these pockets of people, especially professionals, volunteers and all that, working together side by side rather than working in silos. So yeah, go to the gotong royong spirit. So another news that is a bit heartbreaking and a bit unhappy as well is about what is happening now in Myanmar. Apparently, China has denied hundreds of Chinese nationals trapped in Myanmar.
And then more than around 100 Chinese citizens are trapped by this fighting between the government troops and the insurgents in the northern Myanmar. And then they have also been arrested and are being held by the Myanmar government. This is definitely quite sad news because these representatives from the embassy arrived at the Kanchin state, the capital of Mietikina, on the one day to meet with more than 100 Chinese nationals who are being actually held in the prison there.
So it's really something that I don't know what to say, but to me, China has to definitely do a bit more housekeeping in terms of addressing human rights issue, because you cannot just deny your own citizen being trapped in your neighboring country, especially in Myanmar. It's still very fresh, very new in terms of trying to transit towards democracy. And what I can see is the Myanmar government officials also could not be able to give comments on this, and in fact both parties, the Myanmar government and Chinese foreign ministry, has denied reports about hundreds of Chinese citizens has been trapped in the fighting between the rebel groups, especially between the rebel Kachin independent army groups that is battling with the Chinese, the state-backed government, the local government there in the state of Kachin.
And also, in fact, the foreign ministry spokeswoman, Ku Chunying, she said that they are willing to promote peace talks to play the constructive role in northern Myanmar, and also call for the early realization of lasting peace and stability. However, is it really gonna be carried out the way how it was spoken on behalf of the government, or the tension and the ignorance of the people who are trapped there will be there like for long term? And also the risk of a fighting spreading in the heavily militarized border region is actually a worry and a concern for China, which has built 2 oil and gas pipelines through its Southeast Asian neighbor to improve energy security.
So there's a geopolitical consideration for China and Myanmar as well. I mean, energy sector or energy industry is a big thing in Southeast Asia. In fact, what a lot of the conflicts are happening in the areas of Indochina is because of energy. We see how hydropower has somehow disrupted the natural environment as well as the local communities there in Laos and Cambodia. And of course, we see a lot of land grabbing happening in area of Vietnam there because of the development of palm oil and all that. And now we see a lot of conflict happening or still happening in Myanmar because of the energy sector. So it's a huge problem there. But at the same time, I think the bigger picture here is to improve the negotiation and peace talk between the rebel groups and the semi-civilian government of Myanmar. And this hasn't taken place for a long time, since 2011, and it's not going to be a good thing for Myanmar, because it's supposed to be a newly democratized nation.
And then with the Myanmar, looks like it's going forward, but then with the tension between the Myanmar and China will definitely build up more and more. And then with China being ignorant to its own people and being trapped, definitely it looks like the peace talk and all these constructive roles that China is supposed to play will hardly be seen, or even though it was said on behalf of the government.
Before we end the news, I just want to highlight it's actually a breaking news that happened in the area of where ISIS govern. Apparently, ISIS has kidnapped 2 Japanese civilians, and they show a video yesterday, a video that they will be beheading the 2 civilians, the 2 Japanese, if the Japanese government do not pay $200 million to them as a ransom money to ISIS. And this has put a lot of stress to the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, because as we all know, Japanese defense system has changed a lot since World War II. They don't use it for the purpose of war or even defense. They use it for the purpose of peaceful means mainly. In fact, they don't even use it to defend anyone, even though China is just next to them.
And then this is not the first time that they actually caught somebody as hostage and asking for money. But then coming from the Asia countries, this will be the one of the first case that ISIS actually released the video and then demand for a certain amount of money from the nation. And definitely the Prime Minister Abe said it is our top priority, and also the government has made sort of with a foolish decision to provide that money to fight the Islamic State.
I actually feel very devastated, because to me, no more killing of innocent people, especially the person that they are going to kill have nothing to do with the war itself. I mean, I just give the name of the 2 person that was being videoed as the kidnapped Japanese man for the ransom of 200 million US dollar. The person is, one of it is Kenji Goto. He's a well-known freelance journalist. He has taken a lot of really interesting photos of war and of terror throughout his journalistic work. Another one is Haruna Yukawa, who is reported went to Syria to set up a private military contracting company. Both of them has nothing to do with the war itself. They have no private interests that is related directly to the Japanese government or any government, and it's said that they are being used as a scapegoat.
Yep, and also both of them did say that they are not there for the certain agenda behind their trip. It's just that what they had to carry out their job there in Syria, and then they just happened to get caught by these people, and then now they're asking for money from the nation. It is actually very devastating news to not only Japan but to all these Asian countries right now.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that, you know, life can be saved, whatever it takes for Japanese government to do. So that's all for our news today.
And please do find us at our website, durianasean.com. And we also have our social channels, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
And of course, you can always listen via your mobile, via the TuneIn app. We will have an actual Durian ASEAN app very, very soon. But meantime, you can always listen to us via TuneIn. That's all from us today. Bye. This is Arlene signing off.
And this is Grace.